Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to our channel. Today is a big harvesting day. We are approaching the end of summer. Some of our plants are starting to die back pretty badly, as you can see. And we have to get our butternut squash, our pumpkins out, and harvest quite a few tomatoes and peppers. I know the days can seem long and tiring after harvesting day after day after day if you have a relatively large garden. But I promise you, stick with it, keep doing what you're doing, because whenever winter hits and spring hits, you will still be eating off of your garden during those times. So let's see what we can get today. I will be the first to say I'm not ashamed of using heavy equipment whenever it comes time to doing a big harvest, because it means less exertion on these really hot days that we have. And when you're in the garden and you're working up a massive sweat anyhow, making 30 to 40 trips up to your house, which is all the way up there from the garden, is quite a haul. So we get our buckets out, put them in the bucket loader here and harvest, and then just take everything up in one swoop. This is our first load up. This is just a bucket of jalapenos, and then we have 15 or 16 butternut squashes and just one bowl of tomatoes. We probably have 2 or 3 more down here to pick, plus the pumpkins. Okay, so how do you suppose I get this pumpkin out? He got stuck in, he grew in between the cattle panels. So I'm thinking I'm just going to wait until, I hate to waste it though, I think I'm going to wait until I start to can these if it's still alive and it's not mushy, and then I'll just slice it and do it that way. I don't know what else to do because it's not budging. We ended up with 5 really nice pumpkins, and what we're going to do is put these in our cold room until it's time to process. So hopefully by the middle of September we will can these and get these up on the shelves. And I also take the seeds and roast those too, so that'll be 2 separate videos coming in the next month and a half. Alright, so today we picked 3 huge bowls of tomatoes. And then there's our big bucket of jalapenos. And then I also have 1, 2, 3 frozen bags and 1 frozen tray of tomatoes that we are going to get started with in our roaster. And then as that roasts down, I'm going to clean off these fresh ones and throw them in the roasting pan too. So we're definitely making some kind of sauce today. I don't know what yet. But with these guys, we're making cowboy candy. Woohoo! So I will show you a recipe for this later. Once you have drained off the juice from your tomatoes and you have taken it down to just the sauce, you can either can this as a basic sauce recipe, or you can add seasonings to it to enhance the flavor of it a little bit, or use it for an entirely different purpose. So I'm going to go over 2 spice blends with you at this time and show you how to do Italian and Mexican. And you don't add the sauce to this pot here, you add it individually to the jars. So let me show you what those sauce blends are. Get yourself a smaller sized bowl to put your spices in, so that way you can mix them up thoroughly before adding them to your jars. We're going to make enough seasoning to fill 6 pint jars with, okay? And we're going to start with the Italian. We are going to put in 4 teaspoons of basil, 2.5 teaspoons of oregano, 2 teaspoons of thyme. Now I buy my thyme in a ground powder, and it works just as good as the other thyme that's not ground down, so it's just personal preference. 1.5 teaspoons of rosemary, and same with that, I use a ground rosemary too. You're going to want 1 teaspoon of garlic powder and 1.5 teaspoons of sage. At this time you can add 1 teaspoon of hot pepper flakes if you want a little bit of spice to this. We do not, so we're just going to leave this as is. So make sure you stir this up really well, because you want everything thoroughly incorporated. What we're going to do at this time is I'm going to show you how to make just normal sauce and use the Italian blend. So to each jar, If you are just going straight up and making basic tomato sauce, no seasonings, no nothing, you are going to use 1 tablespoon of lemon juice and 1/2 teaspoon of salt in each pint jar. Now, salt is optional, so if you're watching your sodium content because you have high blood pressure or you just don't want the added sodium, you do not need to add salt to this. This is just an optional thing to add in here. Now, at this time, if you are just making a straight up tomato sauce, no seasoning, add your tomato and give yourself a 1/2 inch of headspace. But we are adding seasoning, our Italian seasoning, to this. So we are going to add 2 teaspoons of this to each jar. And you may find that you have a little bit left over. That is okay. But that should have been enough to have made 6. Now, I like to use this whenever I make stuffed peppers. Basically, that's what I use it for. Get your funnel on, and we are going to ladle in our sauce. Now, your sauce should have thickened up. Especially if you didn't take the juice off of it first, you should have left it cook long enough to thicken up. And then we're just going to dump this in, and then we're going to mix it up well. Take your bamboo skewer and just go around the edges, mix these up good, because you'll notice some of the seasonings are all clumped together. So just give them a good mix and try to get the air pockets out with them. Like if you see any air bubbles along the top, try and get rid of those. You still want to maintain that 1/2 inch headspace, so if you need to adjust, please do so before you wipe your rims down and put your lids on. Each time you make sauce that is either plain or seasoned, you're going to do it for pint size. You're going to water bath can these for 35 minutes, and that is for regular sauce or either the Italian or the Mexican. They're all going to process at the same time for 35 minutes, and that is for pint size. And make sure you adjust your time for your elevation. We are now going to make the spices for the Mexican herbed tomato sauce. So this is a little bit different, and we're going to use 6 teaspoons of chili powder. So measure that out, and this is delicious. 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, 2 teaspoons of oregano, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, and then 2 teaspoons of ground coriander. And if you want to use a seasoned salt, you can put in 1.5 teaspoons of that. That is an optional one for this mix. And it is, trust me, it's good without it too. So it's up to you, it's personal preference. Mix this up really, really well. And then same concept applies. You're going to be putting in 1 tablespoon of lemon juice and 1/2 teaspoon of canning salt into each jar. Then we are going to be adding 2 teaspoons of this Mexican seasoning blend into each jar before we put our sauce in. Then we will take our bamboo skewer and we will go around the edges and get all of our air bubbles out and mix that up really well. Once you have put your lemon juice, canning salt, and your 2 teaspoons of your seasoning blend in, add your tomato sauce, and then you're going to look for a 1/2 inch headspace. You are then going to water bath can this for 35 minutes for pints. And this is for an altitude of 1,000 or less. If you're over that, you need to adjust accordingly. Find yourself a good chart. And for myself, I need to add 5 minutes onto that. So I will water bath can mine for 40 minutes. All right, guys, we ended up with 6 jars of the Italian spice tomato sauce and 6 jars of the Mexican sauce. Plus we have 2 quarts and 1 3/4, I don't even know what you call it. It's between a pint and a quart jar as well. So it's been a long day. But every little bit does count, so keep at it. And there's our butternut squashes too. Thank you so much for watching, and please hit that subscribe button and have a great day.